What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Devy Royale. We are doing a Devy Mock Draft with a twist today, and we're going to have some fun with this one. I thought it'd be kind of fun to do some overrated assets. So instead of just your normal Devy Mock that everybody kind of does, I wanted to go through, and I got 12 people that I think are incredibly smart. And I said, hey, who's your most overvalued asset out there? And so we mocked it like it is a mock draft. First pick, who's the most overvalued asset out there, all the way to. So it's a 2-round mock. We're gonna be getting into a little bit of Devy draft strategy for those of you that are kind of getting into the format, or maybe you're thinking about dipping your toes in there, what you could do. And then at the end, I did want to look at some undervalued assets, guys that didn't necessarily get drafted in this thing that I think are of value. So while that intro is going, you know the drill. Hit that like and subscribe button while it's going, and then we'll dive into this overrated Devy draft. All right, let's dive into it. Like I said, we're going to be doing is a Devy mock draft overrated. We got 2 rounds of this thing. I'm going to kind of break into like, hey, what does it look like? Where are these guys going? A little bit of ADP, stuff like that. But the first thing I want to talk about is draft strategy. So the thing about Devy, it can be hard because there's no right or wrong way to kind of dive into it. And the way to also look at Devy now, it's kind of like what I'm going to be kind of using as pipeline. Essentially, it's just a pipeline. Like the only thing that you have to understand about the pipeline or Devy format is that you're drafting college players and they're on your roster. And the biggest thing you use your Devy assets for is trading valuable values, and you just kind of move them. That's what Devy is. It's nothing more than that. You just have to know a little bit about the college game. You don't have to know everything. You don't need to know the Akron backup running back. You just need to know some of the top guys when you're looking at just the top overall. Now, when we're talking about strategies, there's different ways to go do it. Some people just draft best player available, right? Some go value top end running backs, those type of things. Now, how I would do it right now is first of all, yeah, draft best player available, in my opinion, unless it's a quarterback. So biggest thing we're going to talk about is not overdrafting our quarterbacks. Biggest thing is get those best player availables, wherever that case may be. Usually it's wide receivers for me. I'm going to dive into kind of some of those guys. But overall, hey, you might be able to go get a top guy. Do it, because you're not drafting for need. Never draft for need in Devy. Don't think of look at your roster on the NFL side. Oh my gosh, I need a quarterback there. No, go trade for a quarterback. You're not going to draft unless you get a guy like Caleb Williams at 101. Don't reach on quarterbacks or don't reach on a position in a Devy draft. That's not what it should be for. You draft best player available. That way that you can have it as a tradable asset, right? Now, value top end running backs. These top end guys, they get valued out there in terms of this. And the reason why you value those guys is because they bring back so much more in trades. When guys are going to rebuild, they'll go get for some reason in Devy, these top end running backs that are in Devy, like Travion Henderson, Nicholas Singleton, some of the guys we're going to go through, Quinshon Judkins, right? They'll go target them, even though that's not what you should do. You should be targeting the wide receivers anyway. And you can get top end dollars for your Devy assets to where you can go win the NFL side, because that's what you're looking for. You got to go win the NFL side, right? So you're going to value those top end running backs in those leagues and know that they're going to give you a bigger return. And the biggest thing I can say about draft strategies is don't overdraft quarterbacks. Don't do it. Think of all the DJUs out there: Spencer Rattler, Keaton Slovis, JT Daniels, right? Quinn Ewers, maybe right now. Jackson Dart was getting drafted pretty high. So those are the type of guys that you want to stay away from in this format, because it just doesn't pay, especially if you're not playing college fantasy. You got to be very careful on that, right? So that is kind of how I would look at it. And again, go to our Patreon, DM me. We can dive through strategies with you as you're drafting. Go look at some of the mock drafts we're doing and then avoid these guys. So let's dive into it now. Let's talk about where we're going to go through. Let's go through the first round. So first round here's the board. Arch Manning went 101. And in my opinion, yeah, he should be going 101. He is getting drafted way too high in all these different formats. When you're seeing kind of where he's getting valued at right now, late first ADP, way too high. Just way too high, right? And even if he's going to the second round, still way too high with what Arch is going, because we've seen this story before. He's probably quarterback 6 or 7 according to most outlets. When you're looking at rankings wise, you got to be very careful with how you value these guys. You just got to be careful with that. Shador Sanders is number 102. And I love this one because I'm starting to see Shador go in some of these Devy drafts, in 5-round drafts. That's way too high. He should not be getting drafted in those things. Like, stop it, right? Like, those are the areas where you should not be drafting Shador Sanders from Colorado at any format in Devy. Now, C2C later, maybe, okay, but not this damn format. Don't waste your pick on Sanders. It's a wasted pick. I know he's getting talked about in a lot of different circles. The reason why he's getting talked about in those places so they get your clicks. That's it. This is not a Devy asset. Braylon Allen, I thought, was an interesting one there at the 103. I think realistically, when you're looking at Braylon, he's got some things to work on from like a complete profile perspective, PPR, those type of things. I think he could have a hell of a year because he's not going to face 8-9-man boxes now on offense, right? Because they have a new system. They actually have some quarterbacks. But again, when you're looking at it, like I don't hate him being up there. Then we're going to have Quinn Ewers, another Texas player here with the quarterback position. And Quinn Ewers, again, he's going pretty high. So when you're looking at like just over his overall, the mock drafts that we do and the ADP right now, Quinn Ewers is a first-round pick, right? So when we're looking at where he's going in terms of the last time that we had one of these drafts, he went at the 112. So are you comfortable taking Quinn Ewers at the 112? And Arch Manning goes right after that, right? They've both had question marks. There's no way. So the guys going around Quinn Ewers, Luther Burden, Drew Aller, Malik Neighbors, Branson Robinson. There's some guys in there that I probably would definitely take a shot on over Ewers in these formats. Nick Singleton's at the 105. I understand this one, partly because Katrin Allen's there, right? So when we're looking at Allen and they're going to kind of share that workload, maybe we're drafting him too high. He is going in the top 7, top 8 picks. So if that's the case, and again, some drafts he's going 104, maybe you're a little concerned with that, going ahead of Travion Henderson, going ahead of Raheem Sanders. Like maybe we see that. And then we have Will Shipley, and Will Shipley's getting hated on by everybody. And I'm a noted kind of Will Shipley person. I think at PPR formats, he could be pretty valuable, but I understand it here. He's got to really improve in that offense. Hopefully he does with like Riley there now. Hopefully they have that upgraded area and they can get him out in space. I think his long speed is just something that you have to be concerned about. So there's the first 6 picks in the first round. We go to the second round, another Texas player, actually 2 more. So Texas just getting skewered in this bad boy. But we got Xavier Worthy at the 107. Again, there's a lot of question marks about that 2024 wide receiver class. When you look Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka, like really after that, it's like who the hell is going to be there? Malik Neighbors getting a little love. Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy didn't do too much last year. They have an improved wide receiver core there. That could hurt him this year. Like there's a lot of things going against Xavier. So I understand this pick. Branson Robinson was an interesting one. I think with Georgia's just the way they turn out the running back room and the depth, that could be kind of concerning for folks. I'm not as worried about Branson Robinson as some people. I think that, depending on where he's going, if he's going to go in the middle of the second, I don't hate it. Late second, I'm okay with where Branson's going there. If he's going in the late first round in that area, yeah, I'd be a little bit more nervous there. Caleb, I don't agree with. So they took Caleb just because it's the Devy quarterback, and I understand it. But Caleb, Heisman winner, I'm not on the board there. 110 Jaden Blue, yeah, absolutely. Don't take Blue. Blue's out for me in terms of just the value of where you're getting him right now. I think Cedric Baxter Jr. is a better value when you're looking at the running back room and you're looking at Sark. He has not had a running back one type output from any of his running backs that have been under 215 pounds. Jaden Blue is under 215 pounds. I think that there's a serious question we have to do with him and Devy, and I think he got talked up too much last year. Blake Corum, again, he returned, 4-year guy. Athleticism, a lot of things going against him. To me, he's a stay away from me and Devy. I would not take Blake Corum and Devy. There's just no way in terms of where he's at. Where he's going is like, depending on the draft that you're in. But realistically, he's going in that second round-ish. So he's kind of going that second to third round. If he's going in that category, like I don't think you can draft him because what he was probably going to get his draft capital was not good, right? Now, if he's going in the 4th or 5th, even then, there's so many younger guys that you could take there. He just, to me, is a stay away. And in my pick was Ja'Cory Brooks. I think he's getting I think he gets too much love. He did not do well last year when you're looking at him from just a receiver perspective. He did not step up in a room that desperately needed them. They have Jermaine Burton coming back. They have Kobe Prentice, those areas. Like Ja'Cory, to me, is just an overvalued asset that I'm just not interested in right now based on his value. Now, when we go to the second round, so we're going to take a look at this. Rome Odunze, like I think he's fine, but again, he's getting drafted kind of high. He got drafted in a 2024, just straight 2024 class draft, early second, right? And that to me is a little bit little bit too much for Odunze. I think he's okay, but I don't even know if he's the best wide receiver on that team. So when you're looking at his value where he's at right now, a little bit overrated. Donovan Edwards, running back in Michigan, again, with Corum coming back and eating into his volume and his usage, is he that great of a runner on the inside? He was a little injured last year. I know he's probably the best receiving back in this class, but again, he's got some question marks as a runner here. He's got to prove, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that with Corum, right? Drake May, and again, this is just the Devy quarterbacks, like I mentioned, the strategies there. Raheem Sanders is an interesting one. I do think I think that the argument that may be made about Sanders being on this list is that some people have him as a running back one, and some people don't agree with that at all, like at any metric or any system there. So if he's not your running back one, he could be going a little high. So I get that. 205, any quarterback, not Caleb. I love this pick. I was laughing on this one. Yeah, 100%. Like I would not draft a quarterback unless it's someone later. In terms of where I can get the value-wise 4th, 5th round shot on a freshman quarterback or something like that, I wouldn't draft a quarterback right now. Maybe Drew Aller, middle of second, maybe. Don't mind that just because I think projection-wise, like we looked at the 2025 quarterback rankings, he could be up there. But outside of Aller and maybe one of these freshman guys in the 5th round, I'm out, right? Marvin Harrison Jr., don't agree with that one. We're just going to leave that one there. I don't know what guys are thinking. 207, Quinshon Judkins went. And I think, again, when we're looking at running backs after their freshman year, Travion Henderson was going really high, and now he's getting shot down the board a little bit because he had a lackluster year. I think Ole Miss is set up for him to have a very good year. They have a couple good freshmen coming in, but overall, it's going to be the Judkins show. Maybe he's getting valued a little bit too high. Travion Henderson is in there. I don't think he's overvalued, actually. I think he's undervalued right now. I think the question mark, there's some question about Mayan Williams, but as soon as Mayan Williams didn't declare, and just watching his tape, I don't think he's in the same stratosphere as Henderson. Henderson's going to come back after he had some injuries. He had the lower body injury, and those things are hard to come back from. Jermaine Burton, again, yeah, don't draft Jermaine Burton and Devy. Like, 4th-year kid. There's really no reason for Jermaine Burton to be on these on anybody's like a must draft list. I'd probably stay away from that one. Jatavian Sanders, and to his credit, he just said, "Hey, I'm not taking tight ends in Devy," and that's totally, even if tight end premium. I don't hate that kind of mantra because there's so many of these guys, Musgrave, Kincaid, so many of these guys just pop off, and you're like, oh, who is this guy, right? Okay, look at Laporta. Laporta was going to be a very high Devy pick, and now Laporta's like tight end 3 or 4. Zach Kuntz is out there. Like there's guys out there, Darnell Washington, who is okay in Devy, but overall, like there's so many different tight ends. Sanders might not be the guy. Luther Burden, I think Luther's overvalued just because he's still going after before Evan Stewart. So if he's going before Evan Stewart, I'm out on that. Like I think Evan Stewart is a value we're going to talk about here in a minute. And then you got Brock Bowers. So those are the kind of overrated. And again, Brock was just because of the tight end. He's getting drafted something that drafts a 104 in tight end premium. And are you okay with taking Brock Bowers over some of these other guys that we mentioned and that we haven't mentioned that are there? I don't know. I think that's a question you guys got to answer, right? Now, when you're looking at overall values, like current Devy values out there, I think Emeka Egbuka is getting slept on. He was, if you follow me and gone to the Patreon and all that stuff, Emeka was a guy that I touted highly, highly, highly last year. I said, he's the best value. I said, he's the best value out there, 3rd or 4th round, this kid. And now he's probably wide receiver 2 of the 24 class. So overall, I still think he's a value. He's still getting value late 1st, early 2nd. Smash that value all day. Evan Stewart, man, he's the wide receiver 1 in 25 class right now. Now, before everybody out there, before I get trolled, he was my wide receiver 1 heading into last year. And I got the receipts, right? So I think Evan Stewart's still getting undervalued where he's at. He showed that he could kind of be that guy. Malik Neighbors, LSU wide receiver, could easily be the wide receiver 3 of the 24 class. So I think he's still getting undervalued right now. There's some big names talking about him, though. And then Antonio Williams from Clemson. Again, he's going to 4th or 5th round. So is Berrien Brown. I didn't put him on here because I didn't want to put another wide receiver. But Berrien Brown and Antonio Williams, still good values in that 4th, 5th round kind of category, depending on your drafts. And then I'm going to put a running back on here, a freshman. Ruben Owens is one of these guys that he got drafted in the 7th round of a startup that I was in. Hey, man, Ruben could step in and just be a producer at Texas A&M. That running back room is wide open. So Ruben might come in and be ready to go, and you can basically extract that value like I was talking about earlier and get that value for him, right? That's kind of how I look at those guys and where they come. So I hope you enjoyed it. I had some fun with this one. I thought it was a little bit different. There's people out there that do mock drafts all the time, but we like to bring you a little bit of different stuff on the channel. So I hope you enjoy that. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let us know, who do you think is a value right now? Who do you think is getting overvalued in Devy? Like, where is that at? And be on the lookout, for this week and moving forward. Our Patreon, we got something dropping here pretty soon. It's gonna be really exciting. So go join today. It's cheap right now. It's not gonna be like that forever. So we appreciate you guys. We will check you guys on our next video. Until then, I'm Kevin Coleman. I'll see you guys later.